वर्तसे भवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवते नैष्टिके कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निधि नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। We are discussing the Dhruva Charitra, chapter 8 of the fourth canto. We are discussing the instructions of Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj. Narada Muni told Dhruva Maharaj to meditate upon the form of the Lord. He gave a description of the form of the Lord. And Narada Muni told Dhruva Maharaj to chant the holy names of Bhagavan, worship the deity form of the Bhagavan, and meditate on the pastimes of Bhagavan. So today we'll begin from the 59th shloka. Evam kayena manasa
एवं कायेन मनसा
vachasa cha manogatam
वचसा च मनोगतं
परिचर्यमाणो Bhagavan
परिचर्यमानो भगवान्
bhaktimat paricharyayat
भक्तिमत्परिचर्यया
pumsamamayinam samyag
पुंसाम् अमायिनां सम्यक्
bhajatam bhavavardhanah
भजतां भाववर्धनः
श्रेयो दिशत्यभिमतम्
श्रेयो दिशत्यभिमतम्
यद्धर्मादिषु देहिनाम्।
यद्धर्मादिषु देहिनाम्. Translation. Anyone who thus engages in the devotional service of the Lord, seriously and sincerely, with his mind, words, and body, and who is fixed in the activities of the prescribed devotional methods, is blessed by the Lord according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, he is awarded these results.
So Narada is saying that evam kayena manasa vachasa cha manogatam paricharyamano Bhagavan bhaktimat paricharyaya pumsam amayinam samyak bhajatam bhavavardhanah. Bhavavardhanah, the Bhagavan who increases the prema of the devotee. Bhavavardhanah, and who is served by the kayena manasa vachasa, who is served by the body, mind, and words. Paricharyamano Bhagavan, Paricharyamanaha Bhagavan, with a different devotional services. that Bhagavan Shreyo Dishati, Shreyaha Dishati, he bestows whatever is best among the Dharmadishu Dehinam, whatever the best among Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Pumsam Amayinam Pumsam, to the sincere person who is worshipping him. So Narada is telling that if he worship the Lord sincerely with body, mind and words, he will definitely bestow whatever is desired. Or he will bestow whatever is best among the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Shreyaha Dishati. He will bestow whatever is best among this thing to the sincere person who is worshipping him. I'll just read the translation also. इस प्रकार जब हृदय स्थित हरि का मन, वाणी और शरीर से भक्ति पूर्वक पूजन किया जाता है, भक्तिमत परिचर्या, तब वे निश्चल भाव से भली भांति भजन करने वाले अपने भक्तों के भाव को बढ़ा देते हैं, भाववर्धन है, और उन्हें उनकी इच्छा के अनुसार धर्म, अर्थ, काम अथवा मोक्ष रूप कल्याण प्रदान करते हैं. So Narada is assuring Dhruva that you worship the Lord sincerely, definitely Krishna will fulfill your desire. So devotional service is so potent that one who renders devotional service can receive whatever he likes as a benediction from the Supreme Personality of God. Generally, the Baddha Jivatmas, they want to enjoy the material world. They are interested in the first three, Dharma, Artha and Kama. So by worshipping Krishna, they can also get their desire, they can also get their desires fulfilled within Dharma, Artha and Kama. It is not that Krishna will not fulfill the desires of Dharma, Artha and Kama. Even these desires can also be fulfilled. That is why Bhagavatam says that Akama Sarva Kamo Va Moksha Kama Udaradi. Whether a person is without any desires or filled with all material desires, one must worship the Supreme Lord. And then Narada concludes his instruction, 61st shloka. Viraktaschendriyaratau.
Viraktasendriyatu
Bhakti yogena bhuyasa.
Bhakti yogena bhuyasa
Tam nirantara bhavena.
Tam nirantara bhavena
Bhaje tadva vimuktaye.
Bhaje tadva vimuktaye
Bhaje tadha vimuktaye.
Bhaje tadva vimuktaye. Translation. If one is very serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service, engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy, and he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification.
Viraktascha indriyaratau. Virakta means completely detached. From the indriyaratau, while being completely detached from the enjoyment of the senses, indriyaratau. And the word cha indicates liberation. While being completely detached from the enjoyment of the senses and liberation, please, and liberation, one must worship the Lord constantly, nirantara bhavena. One must worship the Lord constantly with bhakti at the stage of bhava. Bhakti yogena bhuyasa. With profuse bhakti at the stage of bhava. Bhajeta adda vimuktaye. In order to attain the position of an associate of the Lord in prema. The word vimuktaye refers to, vimukti means special liberation. It refers to becoming an associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha. So if a person wants to become an associate of the Lord, Bhagavat Parishada in Vaikuntha, then one must be detached even from the enjoyment of the senses and the liberation. And one must worship the Lord constantly, nirantara bhavena, with profuse bhakti. So he who is detached from dharma, artha, kama and moksha must constantly worship the Lord, devoid of the obstacles of jnana and karma, in order to attain the special liberation of being an associate of the Lord with prema. That's why it is said that यदि उपासक को इंद्रिय संबंधी भोगों से वैराग्य हो गया हो तो वह मोक्ष प्राप्ति के लिए अत्यंत भक्तिपूर्वक अविच्छिन्न भावना से निरंतर भावेन भगवान का भजन करें. So here Prabhupada is writing elaborate purport. So there are different objectives for different kinds of people. Generally, the karmis are the fruity workers. Their objective is indriya tripti. And then higher than the karmis are the jnanis. Karmis want to enjoy in this world. And the jnanis, they want to get freedom from this world. They want liberation. And the yogis are higher than the jnanis. They want to meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But higher than the yogis are the bhaktas. They simply want to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So when we talk about karmis, jnanis, yogis and bhaktas, karmi, jnani and yogi, all these three people have some selfish desire. Because of the selfish desire, they cannot attain true peace. But a bhakta who only has a desire to please Krishna, only he can attain real peace. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali, ashanta, Krishna bhakta, nishkama, atayeva shanta. Bhukti kami, siddhi kami, mukti kami. That is karmis, jnanis and yogis. All these people are ashanta, they cannot attain true peace. But Krishna Bhakta, who is desireless, who does not have any personal desire, only wants to please Krishna, such a person, he can attain true peace. If we see, one of the last week we celebrated Gaur Purnima. One of the special contribution of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a goal which is higher than the four Purusharthas. The four Purusharthas are Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So generally, most people are interested in Dharma, Artha and Kama, and there are few people who are interested in Moksha or Mukti. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a goal which is different from all these four. Prema Pumarto Mahan. Krishna Prema. So I'll just briefly explain how these goals, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, how they are glorified in the scriptures. When we understand how these four goals are glorified in the scripture, then we can appreciate the Panchama Purushartha, Krishna Prema, as the goal given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the Chanakya Pandit, he says in the Chanakya Sutra, he begins by saying that Sukasya Moolam Dharmam. The root of happiness is dharma. That means people who perform dharma, who are pious, they can attain they can attain real happiness. They can attain more happiness than a person who does not lead a dharmic life. In that way, dharma is glorified. And then Chanakya says that artha moolam hi dharma kamaviti. The root of dharma and kama is artha. That means those who have good artha, they can only perform nice dharmic activities. Generally, to perform a yajna or even some ritual, you need to have good dharma. You need to have some artha. Even in the current times, suppose somebody has to perform shraddha using the general brahmanas. If you inquire how much expenses it takes, even in a two-tier, third-tier city, I heard like 15,000, 20,000 rupees like that. It goes for a shraddha or maybe more also. In the current time, I'm saying, when you perform, say, different dharmic activities, you need to have artha. And to enjoy kama, you also need artha. Therefore, Chanakya says that artha moolam hi dharma kama viti. The root of dharma and kama is artha. And then Chanakya says that parasparasya aupagatakam. The goals of dharma, artha and kama, they should not cause harm to each other. That means one has to balance the goals of dharma, artha and kama. Sometimes a person performs dharma, but he neglects earning artha or neglects kama. Then because of neglect of that, his life may be affected. He may be a pious person, but because of neglecting artha and kama, there may be certain problems in his life. Or in the modern time, people are mainly interested in artha, and they are not interested in dharma only. For the sake of artha, they don't worry what kind of occupation or where to go. They don't worry about staying separate from the family. Families are, husband is working somewhere else, wife is working somewhere else. They meet once a while, like that. Families are there actually, because they feel that artha is the most important. So when they neglect dharma, then there will be problems actually. And for the sake of kama, when a person neglects dharma and artha, then also there will be problems. So Chanakya, he mentions about the dharma, artha and kama, these three goals. And even in Ramayana, when Bharat comes to meet, request Lord Ram to come back to Ayodhya, that time there is a beautiful conversation. Bharat Milap. Very elaborate conversation. That time Ram asked Bharat one of the question, Kachid artena va dharmam, artham dharmena va punah. Ubau va priti lobena, kamena va vibadase. The same principle mentioned by Chanakya. Is it that are you neglecting dharma because of yearning artha? Or are you neglecting yearning artha by engaging in dharma? Or are you neglecting dharma and artha because of kama? So Ram is actually emphasizing to Bharat the need to balance dharma, artha and kama. So why I'm mentioning is that in order to appreciate Mahaprabhu's goal, Prema Pumarto Mahan, we need to understand the previous goals, that is Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So generally, in order to have a peaceful life, we need to execute the Varnashram duties properly, and there has to be a balance between Dharma, Artha and Kama. So when we talk about Dharma, we find one constant theme. Dharma is what is described in the Vedas. Veda pranihito dharma, adharmastat viparyaya. Anything which is opposite to that which is prescribed in the Vedas is adharma. So in the Vedas, one constant theme we find in the Vedas is performance of different yajnas. There is a statement, Swarga kamo yajeta. A person desiring to attain Swarga should perform yajna. So people perform dharmic activities with a purpose in mind, with the purpose of going to Swarga, with the purpose of better life. So dharma is transactional in nature. I will perform this dharma, I must get this in return. If you read Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, I think verse number 4 to 9 or something, a list of things are mentioned. If a person wants to get a good wife, one must worship this devata. If a person wants to get a good progeny, one must worship this devata. If a person wants to get good power, then one must worship this devata. Like a long list is given. So people usually perform dharma with an expectation in return. So dharma is transactional in nature. In the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, third chapter, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantuva parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapsyata. You perform yajna to please the devatas, and in turn they will supply your needs. And then with that you again worship the devatas, and they will continue to supply your needs. In this way, parasparam bhavayanta. In this way, by cooperation between each other, one can attain Shreya Param Avapsyata, one can progress. So what we see here is that dharma is transactional in nature. And what about artha? Artha is also transactional in nature. People yearn artha, and then they know that if I have to use the artha for the proper purpose, otherwise I will get a future reaction. So using the artha for the proper purpose, that is also mentioned in the Artha Shastra. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also there is a description. Shukracharya, when Vamanadev came to ask 3 steps of land, Shukracharya told that this person is Vishnu, he is going to take away all your property. But according to the principles of Artha, the Artha should be shared in 5 portions, should be utilized for 5 purposes. Dharmaya, Yashasertaya, Kamaya, Swajanaya cha, Panchada Vibhajan Vittam, Ihamutra cha Modate. In order to attain happiness in this world and the next world, one must divide the wealth in for 5 purposes. One who is in full knowledge should divide his accumulated wealth in 5 parts. Dharmaya, for performing dharmic activities. Yashase, for reputation. That means by giving charity. By that one will get some reputation. And then Arthaya, for opulence, for increasing one's comforts. Opulence. Kamaya, for sense gratification. And Swajanaya, for the maintenance of his family members. So one has to divide the wealth in this for these 5 parts. But this Vamana, he is going to take away all your wealth. You will not be able to follow this principle. Like that Shukracharya is telling. Shukracharya is telling from the ordinary Shastra point of view, how the Artha should be divided in a proper way. So even when we read this shloka, that means Artha is also transactional in nature. For example, Avanti Brahmana in the 11th canto, he did not divide the wealth in these 5 ways. He was such a miserly person. He neither gave the wealth to his family members, nor did he enjoy the wealth for himself, nor did he use the wealth for the dharmic purposes or for charity. Therefore, Avanti Brahmana was rejected by everyone. He was a miser. So all his wealth was taken away. So Artha is also the very currency of transaction. And what about Kama? So Kama is also transactional in nature. That means there is an expectation of something in return. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a conversation between Yajnavalkya and his wife Maitreyi. Very profound statement. Yajnavalkya says that it is not for the sake of the husband that a wife serves the husband, but rather it is for one's own sake. And then he says that it is not for the sake of the wife that a husband serves the wife, but for one's own sake. And then he says, it is not for the sake of somebody may be doing social service. So Yajnavalkya says that it is not for the sake of the society that a person serves the society, but it is for one's own sake. So that means even in the relationship of karma, there is a transactional nature. So every relationship, even the relationship between the parents and the child, there is a conditional expectation is there. And what about the goal of moksha? Moksha is also transactional in nature. People want moksha because they want to end the miseries in this world. There is old age, disease, and death. They want to end the miseries in this world. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Ma Shuchah. Abandon all dharmas and surrender unto me, then I will actually liberate you from all the sins. Moksha Yishyami Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Ma Shuchah. Do not worry. So even in this statement, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami, I will liberate you from all the sins. But you surrender unto me. You abandon all dharmas and surrender unto me. So there is a, from one point of view, there is a transactional thing is there. So beyond these four goals, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, there is a fifth goal which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. That is the prema pumarto mahan. So when we see the prema pumarto mahan, when Krishna comes in the mood of Krishna, he becomes transactional. Because Krishna is saying that you surrender unto me, abandon all varieties of religion, surrender unto me, then I will liberate you from all the sins. So Krishna is once in a transactional mood. You do this and then I will liberate you from all the sins. But the same Krishna, when he comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he becomes completely non-transactional. Mahaprabhu just says that chant Hare Krishna once. Chant Hare Krishna once, I will give you Krishna Prema. He is not saying surrender unto me, abandon all dharmas and surrender unto me. He just say chant Hare Krishna once. So this is like somebody may say, but still Mahaprabhu is asking at least to chant Hare Krishna once, na? I mean, he is also transactional in nature, one may say. But Mahaprabhu is asking that because people in the previous yuga should not complain that for this Kali Yuga people did not do anything. So Mahaprabhu is at least asking just once. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam gives a goal higher than these four goals, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So as long as a person is having one of these four goals, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, one will be in anxiety. One cannot achieve true peace. It is like, I'll give a little colloquial example. Suppose somebody studies in some ordinary engineering college. If for the sake of some imaginary name. Munnabai Institute of Technology in Chalisgaon. Suppose somebody studies there. So then he will be in anxiety. Will some companies come for campus interview or not? Because ordinary engineering colleges, whether companies will come for campus interview, that is sometimes they may not come only. Will some companies come for campus interview? How many people will they select? Will I get selected or not? So one will be in anxiety. But suppose somebody studies in a premier college, computer science at IIT Bombay, and he becomes a gold medalist. Then he is not in anxiety about getting a job. Rather, he will be in a position to interview the different companies. Because there will be many companies who will be lining up to take him, and he will be interviewing the companies. What do you have to offer? what is your package? He will be interviewing the companies. But if a person studies in the Munaba Institute of Technology, he will be in anxiety about the attending the interview. Will they select me or not? So similarly, when a person is having the goals of dharma, artha, kama and moksha, moksha by here I mean even the personal liberation, that is going to Vaikunta. Even if a person has a desire to go to Vaikunta, one will be in anxiety. Vaikunta or Goloka Vrindavan, whatever you may say. One will be in anxiety. Will I get selected? Am I qualified? Will I be selected for going to Vaikunta or Goloka Vrindavan? But when a person joins the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu school of Vaishnavism, that is like joining IIT. When a person joins this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu school of Vaishnavism, one's goal changes from Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. One's goal changes from even from going to Vaikunta to Krishna Prema. So when a person has the goal as Krishna Prema, that means service to Krishna, then he will see even Vaikunta as whether the Vaikunta is offering me the opportunity to render service. Then such a devotee, he will be interviewing the different muktis. Suppose if Samipya Mukti, Salokya Mukti, Sarishti Mukti, Sarupya Mukti, if they are coming, he will be interviewing them. Please tell me what are the opportunities you are offering me to render service to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, in Vaikunta. Tell me those opportunities. Based on that, I will decide whether to accept your mukti or not. Suppose if he feels that the opportunity to service to Krishna is better in some other planet in the material world, somebody, some HR representative from Sutala Loka at that time comes, see the opportunity to serve Krishna, we are offering more opportunities than in what is available in Vaikunta, then he will reject Vaikunta and he will go to Sutala Loka. Because when a person has accepted the Chaitanya school of Vaishnavism, his goal has changed from even moksha to Krishna prema. Therefore, he sees everything from the point of view of only opportunity to render service to Krishna. That means one is truly nishkama. And when a person comes to this, gets this particular goal, that means when a person rejects even mukti, and when a person only has the goal of pleasing Krishna or Krishna prema, then a person becomes truly relieved. And that is what the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, that Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta. So, therefore, Prabhupada writes here in the purport, above all these are the devotees who simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. They are situated seriously on the topmost platform of ecstasy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's one of the special contribution is that he has given a Panchama Purushartha, which is higher than even Mukti, which is higher than even going to the spiritual world. And when a person has this goal of prema, then Krishna gives himself to the devotee. Shri Krishna Akarshini. Krishna gets attracted to that person. So then further Prabhupada says that Here, Dhruva Maharaj is advised that if he has no desire for sense gratification, he should directly engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The path of apavarga or liberation begins from the stage called moksha. In this verse, the word vimuktaye for liberation is especially mentioned. So it is not that one should not desire to go to Vaikuntha, because same Rupa Goswami says that if achieving the Salokya Mukti, Sarupya Mukti, Sarshti Mukti, if it is favorable for rendering service to Krishna, then a devotee will accept it. But if it is not favorable for rendering service, if it is not favorable, then a devotee will reject even the Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya Mukti, etc. Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya, Sarupyaikatvam Apyuta, Diyamanam na Grihnanti Vinamat Sevanam Jana. So, if one wants to be happy within the material world, he may aspire to go to different planetary systems. But real moksha or liberation is performed without any such desire. Therefore, it is said, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. For persons who are still inclined to enjoy material life in different stages or on different planets, the stage of liberation in Bhakti Yoga is not recommended. So, only persons who are completely free from the Indriya Ratav can execute Bhakti Yoga purely. So, the activities on the path of Apavarga up to the stage of Dharma, Artha and Kama are meant for sense gratification. But when one comes to Moksha, the impersonalist liberation, one wants to merge into the Supreme, but that is also a selfish desire. But higher than that, higher than the desire for Moksha, a person becomes one of the associates of the Lord for the purpose of rendering loving service. Not for just for some prestige or something, for the purpose of rendering loving service. That is called in the shloka by the word vimukti, vimuktaye. So Narada Muni recommends that one directly engage himself in devotional service. So with this shloka, Narada Muni concludes his instruction. And then what happens, we'll see. Ityuktastam parikramya
इत्युक्तस्तं परिक्रम्य
pranamya chandra parbhakah
प्रणम्य चन्द्रपार्भकः
yayau madhuvanam punyam
ययौ मधुवनं पुण्यं
हरेश चरण चर्चितम.
हरेश्चरणचर्चितं. Translation. When Dhruv Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narad, he circumambulated Narad, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious.
So, in this way, when Narada Muni gave these instructions, Ityuktastam parikramya, Dhruva Maharaj, with a great respect, he circumambulated Narada Muni. Pranamya, he offered obeisances. Nriparbakaha, Nriparbaka means the child Dhruva, the child Dhruva. Arbaka means a child. Yayau Madhuvanam, he went to Madhuvanam. Punyam Madhuvanam, the pious Madhuvana place. Haresh Charanarchitam, in that Madhuvan is actually decorated with the footprint marks of Lord Hari. Here one may get the question, this Dhruva Charitra happened in the first Manvantara, Swayambhuva Manvantara. But Krishna appears in the Vaivasvata Manvantara, the 7th Manvantara, which is going on now. In the Vaivasvata Manvantara, in the 27th Chaturyuga, Krishna appears. But this Dhruva Charitra is going on in the first Manvantara, Swayambhu Manvantara. So how can we say that Madhuvana is decorated with the footprints of Krishna? Because Krishna appeared later. So there are two answers. One answer is that in Vrindavan, Krishna's Aprakata Leela is eternally going on. Aprakata Leela. There's Prakata Leela and Aprakata Leela. Prakata Leela takes place in the Vaivasvata Manvantara, 27th Chaturyuga. In that Dwapar Yuga end, Krishna appears and performs pastimes. That is the Prakata Leela. But in unmanifest way, Krishna's pastimes are always going on in Vrindavan. Another answer is that in the previous day of Brahma, when Krishna appeared, he performed pastimes in Madhuvan. Madhuvan is one of the 12 forests of Vrindavan. So from the previous day of Brahma, when Krishna appeared, the Krishna's footprints are there. So therefore, from that way also we can take. So then, next shloka. Tapovanam gate tasmin
तपोवनं गते तस्मिन्
pravishtontapuram munihi
प्रविष्टोऽन्तः पुरं मुनिः
arhitarhanako rajya
अर्हितार्हणको राज्ञा
sukasina uvachatam.
सुखासीन उवाच तम्. Translation. After Dhruv entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narad it thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narad Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narad began to speak.
So when Dhruva Maharaj had gone to Tapovana, I think Tapovana is the place of performing tapasya within Madhuvan. So Narada Pravishta Antapuram. Antapuram Pravishtaha. Narada Muni entered the inner chambers of the palace. Arhita Arhanako Rajya. So the king Uttanapad respected, worshipped Narada Muni properly. And then Sukasina Uvachatam. And Narada was seated comfortably, Sukasina. Then Narada spoke to Uttanapad. So Narada is asking certain questions to Uttanapad. Narada Uvacha
नारदुवाच
Rajan Kim Dhyayase Dirgham
राजन् किं ध्यायसे दीर्घम्
Mukhena Parishusyata
मुखेन परिशुष्यता
Kim Vana Rishyate Kamo
किं वा नरिष्यते कामो
Dharmo Varthena Samyutah.
धर्मो वार्तेन संयुतः. Translation. The great sage Narada inquired, My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?
So here Narada is just by seeing Uttanapad, he could make out that Uttanapad is in a deep state of distress. He's asking that Mukena Parishushyata. Mukena, your face is very withered. We also say face is the index of the mind. Your face is very withered. And then Dirgam Kim Dirgam Dhyayase. Have you been contemplating for a long time? Dirgam dhyayase. Are you contemplating on something for a long time? Huh? What are you contemplating on for a long time? Or kimva na rishyate kamo dharmo vartena samyutah. Or have you lost dharma, artha, and kama? Have you lost kama and dharma along with artha? Rishyate. So we saw that how the sukasya moolam dharma. We saw the importance of balancing dharma, artha, and kama. These are the general goals of a pious person: dharma, artha, and kama. So, have you lost dharma, artha, and kama? Huh. So, Narada Muni did not inquire about moksha because Uttanapada is uh, he's a king who is mainly interested in enjoying this world. Therefore, he mainly asked about dharma, artha, and kama. Huh. So, so Prabhupada again introduces Narada Muni did not inquire about liberation, but only regarding the state management, which is meant for advancement of dharma, artha, and kama. Because those who engage in such activities, they are not interested in liberation. Therefore, Narada did not inquire about the liberation. Liberation is meant for people who have lost all interest in religious ritualistic ceremonies, artha and kama. So he's asking that what is the reason for your distress? So last shloka. Okay. Rajo vacha
राजोवाच
suto me bhalako brahman
सुतो मे बालको ब्रह्मन्
straine straineka strainena karunatmana
स्त्रैणेना करुणात्मना
निर्वासित panchavarša
निर्वासितः पञ्चवर्षा
sahamatra mahan kavihi.
सह मात्रा महान् कविः. Translation. The king replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee.
So here Uttanapada is repenting. Brahman, O Brahmana, akarunatmana, akarunatma, because of my merciless nature. Strainena, strainena means being controlled by my wife. And being merciless, I have banished. Nirvasitaha, I have only responsible. I am only responsible. I have banished my young son who is 5 year old, Panchavarsha, Saha Matra, along with his mother. Of course, his mother, Suniti, did not go to the forest. But practically speaking, he has neglected Suniti because of his attachment to Suruchi. That is what Uttanapada is repenting. So, because his mother was not respected, she is also said to be banished. So this is an important shloka. Prabhupada says that there are some specific words which are to be understood very carefully. Strainena akarunatmana. The second line, these two words are highlighted by Prabhupada. The king said that strainena, because he was attached to his second wife Suruchi, akarunatmana, he became merciless. He lost all his mercy. That is the result of becoming too affectionate toward women. So the first wife was Suniti, second wife was Suruchi. He was too attached to the second wife. So therefore, he could not behave well with Dhruva Maharaj. And that became the cause of Dhruva Maharaj leaving the palace. So, yeah. A Kshatriya is allowed to marry more than one wife, but one very important principle is that he should not be partial towards any one wife. He should treat he should keep all the wives happy. But the king was more affectionate towards one wife. Huh. So although as a father, the king was affectionate towards his son, he minimized his affection for Dhruva because he was too much attached to the second wife. So now he is feeling that because of me, I have practically banished Dhruva and his mother Suniti. And Dhruva is only 5 years old. So especially according to the principles of Dharma, a husband should never banish the wife and the children. So only when the wife and children are disobedient or they are a very bad character, then they are sometimes given up. But Dhruva Maharaj was definitely a obedient son, was a great devotee, therefore he is not to be neglected. Suniti was also a very good pious lady. But the Uttanapada is feeling that because of my attachment to Suruchi, I am responsible for the banishment of them. And in further, he also speaks two more shlokas. And then Narada will pacify Uttanapad. We will see that in the next class. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare.
Okay, so Prabhuji, so regarding that, how the demigods will fulfill, but if somebody is turning to bhakti and then he starts visiting, worshipping demigod for a material desire, then in any case, Krishna will not allow it to happen. So, because demigods are adhin to Lord Shri Krishna, so even if you are doing a yagna with lot of the details which you had discussed in your previous lectures, how it has to be done. But still it will be a flaw. Still it will not work out because Krishna doesn't want it. So this is my understanding, that statement that demigods fulfill your desires also is like a question mark, because Krishna will intervene, no? He knows your future, and that's why he starts playing around with your present as soon as you start worshipping him. Is that so? Is that the correct understanding?
Yeah.
Or
Can you just repeat once more?
yeah,
Demigods will.
so even if you are doing demigod worship, like if you are just started worshipping Lord Shri Krishna and trying to show some sincerity, and then just simultaneously you are doing some demigod worshipping for your material desires, still even if you do your ceremonies the way you have explained in your previous lectures, that how with so much rules regulation you cannot sit, you want to scratch, you want to all these things, you had given all the details, even if you've done that, that ceremony would not even give that result because Krishna doesn't want it. Is that this thing? So I personally feel that even if you want to worship a demigod for a material desire, it will not happen. Even if you are doing it according to the rules and regulations of how Vedas speak, because it's Krishna who is orchestrating your life, because he knows your future, what you would do with whatever you are going to benefit from that yagna. So he would start playing around with your present, by not fulfilling it or not giving the what you desire. Like,
Yeah, when a person worshipping Krishna, and then if he's also worshipping certain devata, one can actually, it's not required to worship a devata. One can show respect to the devata. A Krishna devotee need not worship a devata. Worship means the connotation of the person being the independent Supreme Lord, uh, seeing the person independent of Bhagavan. So worship is offered only to Krishna. Respect is given to everyone, all the devatas also. The person is worshipping some other devata also simultaneously, then that faith in Krishna is lacking. Maybe Krishna is not capable enough to fulfill my this particular desire. Rather, Bhagavatam recommends that, okay, even if you have certain desire, worship Krishna only. Krishna is definitely capable of fulfilling the desire. In fact, Krishna will fulfill the desire beyond one's expectation. Kardama Muni worshipped Krishna. He wanted a wife who is of like-minded disposition. But Krishna fulfilled the desire much beyond his expectation. He gave Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, uh, as his wife. Therefore, Krishna's reciprocation is always, even in the case of if a person is desiring material desire, it will be much beyond one's expectation. So, there is no need to actually worship another devata. One can sometimes there's a compulsion pressure as a part of the family to take part in the particular devata worship. Then as a matter of formality, one may do that. But otherwise, um, when a person has an independent choice, instead of demigod worship, one may choose Krishna only for fulfilling one's desire.
But like I don't want to beg to differ, but
Hmm.
in case of Kardamoni and Devuti, like they're very exalted. Like that's why the reciprocation from Krishna and all that. But for an ordinary person trying to worship Krishna, I mean, with whatever circumstances and all, but because of the lack of piety, lack of devotional service, to that extent, then and the karmas, reactions, and all, so then things are,
No,
I mean,
no,
because you have not acted.
even for an ordinary person, we cannot say Kardam, even for ordinary person, the scriptures always teach through the examples. Even for ordinary person, if a person worships Krishna sincerely, although one may have different material desire, Krishna will definitely fulfill that desire also. Krishna is capable, even for ordinary person.
So then how
So,
does the
in fact,
karma
for the
factor?
Devata worship, you need to follow the rules very scrutinizingly, which is very difficult in this age. Devata worship, you need to follow pure ingredients, many things have to be followed scrutinizingly. It is difficult to follow in this age, but in the Krishna worship, even if a person worships with a material desire, Krishna, the person sincerely worships Krishna, will fulfill that more easily.
In fact, that desire only will go, like, because he's purified of it.
Krishna will also purify the desire, will also fulfill the desire.
Uh, so the examples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, devotees who did not surrender, but he gave mercy to him. It's that Amogha and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, then Jagai Madai, and couple of which you can tell us.
Yeah, definitely. Krishna, when he comes in the mode of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is more merciful because he comes in the mode of Srimati Radharani. Krishna is reciprocal in nature, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Audarya, he is very magnanimous.
Yeah. So apart from these three, any other examples which you can please tell us?
Throughout throughout the Harinam Sankirtan, like Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that Patra, Apatra, Nadeki, Sthana, Sthana. Panchatattva, whomever they distributed to Harinam Sankirtan Mahaprabhu, when he went into South India, he induced the people to chant. All the people we can, everyone, not just few exceptions, but everyone, all the common people in South India, whom we induced them to chant.
And one more example of that, the husband giving preference to all the wives is that Harsha Shoka, no? That's why they killed the son.
Hmm. Yeah.
Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just one question. In verse number 62, we mentioned about Dhruva Maharaj went to Madhuvan where Krishna's footsteps are there. You mentioned that Dhruva Maharaj was born in first Manvantara, whereas Krishna was born in the seventh Manvantara. Can you just explain that again? I didn't get it properly.
I mentioned two reasons. The verse says that Dhruva Maharaj went to Madhuvan, which is decorated with the footprints of Krishna. But Krishna appeared in the seventh Manvantara, but this pastime is taking the first Manvantara. So two reasons. One reason is that in the previous day of Brahma, because Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. In the previous day of Brahma, when Krishna appeared, that time Krishna performed pastimes in Vrindavan. So from that day, the footprints of Krishna are present even now. That is one reason given by the Acharyas. Another reason we can think is that Krishna's pastimes are going on eternally in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, because these are the eternal abodes of Krishna. So even though Krishna is going to appear the seventh Manvantara, but even in the first Manvantara in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes are going on in an unmanifest manner, in an aprakata fashion. In that way, Madhuvan is eternally decorated with the footprints of Krishna.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. So